We collect data in order to figure out some sort of answer to a question about the world. This data can be collected either from what's called a population or from a sample. The population is the entire group of interest. So for example, if we wanted to know the incomes of people in Oakland, then to collect data from the population, we would ask every single person who lives in Oakland. And the thing is that the United States government actually does this every 10 years. The census literally goes out to every single person that they can find in the United States, and people who don't respond to what's mailed out are tracked down by hand to try to get data from every single person. That's collecting data from the entire population. And the pros are that we get everyone. We know the data is accurate. There's nothing that's been missed. But on the flip side, the cons are that it's really time consuming, it's really expensive, and sometimes it's flat out impossible. So for example, the 2010 census cost $13 billion to track down all the people who didn't respond, and it takes months and months and months to actually get everybody. If you have a small population of interest, so for example, if the population that I'm interested in is Wilson Prep, it's relatively easy to get population data. You just ask every single student in the school. But for larger populations like the United States or the world, very, very difficult. So oftentimes what statisticians do instead is they take a sample. And a sample is just a subset of the entire group of interest. And going back to our example up here, if we were going to take a sample, maybe we would just ask 200 out of about the approximately 400,000 people in Oakland, ask 200 Oakland residents what their income is. And the pros for taking sample is that it's cheaper and easier. Easier. But unfortunately, the data might not accurately represent the whole population. And so what we really see when gathering data for statistics is we see there's a tension between getting accurate accurate results and getting them efficiently and cheaply. And in the real world, we're almost always going to use samples just because it's so difficult to get population data. But in the next videos, we're going to talk a bit more about how to get sample data that will actually give us accurate results. But there definitely is definitely a tension between, do we have accurate results versus can we just get the data cheaply and easily. Let's say that results. In fact, those statistics techniques that we learn about for much of this course are designed to deal with the uncertainty that's created by using samples. If we have population data, we don't really need to use a bunch of the statistical techniques. So let's just do a quick example. We just want to identify whether or not we're drawing data from or gathering data from a sample or a population. So for our first example, I want to know what proportion of books in the Oakland Library, the whole Oakland Library, are fiction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my branch, and determine if each book is fiction or not. And in the second scenario, I want to know what proportion of books at my branch are fiction. So once again, I go to my branch, and determine if each book is fiction. So the thing is determining whether or not you're drawing from a population, whether or not you're gathering population data or sample data, it depends on what your population of interest is. So in this case, what proportion of books in the Oakland Library? So all the branches all around the city. So if I just go to my branch, I'm just taking a subset of the books that are in the entire library. So this would be a sample, because my branch is only some of the books. Oops, I'm out of room in the whole library. However, in this case, I'm interested in what proportion of books at my branch. So if I go to my branch and determine if each book, so I'm looking at every single book that's in my branch of the library, and my population that I'm interested in is the books in my branch of the library. So in this case, I'm collecting population data. Because my branch is the population, and I'm gathering data on each book. So one of the things to point out here is that I did the exact same thing in both scenarios. I went to my branch, figured out if each book was fiction. However, because my population of interest was different in the two, in this one I'm gathering population data because I'm getting every single every single book at my branch, and I'm just interested in the books at my branch. Whereas here I'm interested in all the books in the Oakland Library, but I'm only getting data on a subset of them.